What's up, YouTube? I'm back. We have another video. Today we're reacting to one of Jimmy Ironrollers' video. Make sure to subscribe, like, comment, share. Today notification bell. It's really going to happen. Check it out.
The Phoenix Suns and the Milwaukee Bucks in the NBA Finals. Who would have thought? I mean, the Bucks, as odd as it feels that they've actually made it, I think it was almost a matter of time considering their rise over the last few seasons. But the
Facts.
Suns, the Phoenix Suns, you can't help but to feel happy for them because they weren't supposed to be here. At the moment, the Suns are favored to win the finals at minus 190 odds. But this wasn't always the case. At the beginning of the season, the Suns were not favored to win
They were not favored at all. There wasn't.
the title. They also didn't have the second best odds, or the third, or fourth, or fifth, or sixth, or seventh, or anything close. 15th. At the beginning of the season, the Suns had the 15th best odds of winning the NBA championship at plus 6,000. And this got me thinking, if the Suns win the title this season, are they the least likely NBA champions ever? I mean, they've got to be close, right? Well, here are the preseason championship odds of every single NBA championship team dating back to 1985. The 2018 Warriors having the best preseason odds of any team, being the heavy favorite going into the season, followed by the 2017 Warriors and the 1997 Bulls. On the other end of the spectrum, you have the champions who had the worst odds of winning it all going into the season. The 2004 Pistons, the
2004 Pistons.
2011 Mavericks, and the 2015 Warriors. And then there's this year's Suns, with by far the worst preseason.
Ooh, it's all the way up there. All the way up there. Dang, dog. Oh my God.
Odds of any team in modern basketball history. Look at this. It's not even close. In fact, according to preseason odds, the Suns are more than 2 times less likely to win a championship this season than the next least likely champion in nearly 4 decades. Now, sure, they haven't won the title yet, but if they do, this will be a historic victory. Realistically, who other than the residents of Phoenix, Arizona, thought the Suns would even be in the NBA Finals this season? They've capitalized on their opportunity and they've stepped up and knocked down every opponent put in front of them. And yeah, they took advantage of a weird playoff year with an absurd amount of injuries and teams not playing at full capacity. But let's not forget, the Suns also lost Chris Paul for 2 games in the second round due to COVID protocol. They were also victims of odd and unforeseen circumstances. And yet here they are, in the finals despite the odds being heavily against them. On a side note, of all these champions,
That's crazy though.
the teams who were favored to win the title going into the season, which means odd makers pick the correct team less than half the time. But I want to take a deeper look into this, because if we are just going by odds, the Suns are easily the least favored team to even make it to the finals, let alone win the whole thing. So let's take a different approach at this. Now, see these numbers? I mean, of course you do, you're watching the video, but take a close look at them, because these are statistically the most likely NBA champions of the last 30 years.
Most likely NBA champions since 1984. 2017 Warriors, 96 Bulls, 87 Lakers, 92 Bulls, 15 Warriors, 86 Celtics, 8 Celtics, 91 Bulls, 97 Bulls, 2013 Heat.
38 NBA seasons. A collection of some of the best teams ever assembled, topped off with the 2017 Warriors. And you're probably thinking, how in the world did I come up with this list? What do all these numbers mean? Well, by using the SRS stat, which is a statistic that uses a few variables to
Super rating system.
how bad a team is relative to the rest of the league. I covered this stat last season in this video. We can find out how difficult or easy a championship run was. But we can also find out how much better a team was relative to their competition in any given postseason. For example, in the 2017 playoffs, the Warriors faced an opponent with an average SRS score of 3.44. Meanwhile, the Warriors had the 4th best SRS score in the history of the league with 11.35. which means they were 7.91 SRS better than their average opponent in that playoff run, which is statistically the largest gap of any team in relation to their opponents since 1984. Simply put, this relative SRS score shows us how much better each championship team was relative to the opponents they faced to get the championship. Well, by using this same method, I found that these teams are the 10 least likely champions of the last 38 seasons, with the 1995 Houston Rockets topping the list with an SRS 3.67 less than their average playoff opponent, which is absurd. This means that when the Rockets won the title in 1995, every single team the Rockets faced that postseason was not only better than the Rockets, they were statistically considerably better than the Rockets. And this would make sense, because in last year's video, we determined that their championship run that season was the most difficult in modern NBA history. But this list isn't just about difficulty, it's about difficulty relative to each team. For example, the 2001 Lakers are arguably the greatest team of all time, and yet their championship run is the second hardest on this list. And that's because in order to get it, they had to go through a 50-win Blazers team, a 55-win Kings squad, the Spurs, who had the best record in the NBA that season with 58 wins, and a 56-win 76ers team.
Well, that was hard.
Are you kidding me? Do y'all realize how insane this is? And when you consider that the Lakers only had an SRS of 3.74 that season, this means that nearly every team they beat was statistically still better than they were. Now, if the Bucks win the title this season, this would give them a relative SRS score of 2.57, which is a pretty average title run, just slightly unlikely. But if the Suns win the championship, they would have a relative SRS score of 0.88, which would land them with the 8th least likely title of the last 38 seasons, right between the Cavaliers in 2016 and the Raptors in 2019. The Suns have beat the returning champs in the Lakers, they've defeated the league MVP in the Nuggets, and they beat the heavily favored Clippers. And it would only be fitting that Chris Paul wins a championship in this fashion, possibly the most unlucky player of our generation. Because if you look at a timeline of CP3's career and what has unfolded for him, it's honestly shocking that he hasn't won a ring yet. We can all recall the NBA's decision to veto Paul's trade to the Lakers in 2011, a decision that altered the NBA for years. We are all witnessing what Chris Paul can do with Devin Booker and a scrappy young Suns team. Just imagine what he would have done with Kobe Bryant and an experienced Lakers organization just one season removed from back-to-back championships. It is no stretch to say that this potential Lakers team would have been one of the favorites to win the title for multiple years. But of course, this never happened. Then there's the monumental collapse the Clippers had in the 2015 playoffs. After being up 3-1 in the second round against the Rockets, fate would have it that Paul would not see the conference finals, since the Rockets went on to win the next 3 games, completing the dreadful 3-1 comeback. Fast forward to the next season in the 2016 playoffs, and after going up 2-0 to the Blazers in the first round, both Paul and Blake Griffin go down with injuries, allowing the Blazers to win 4 straight games. And then, of course, one of the most overlooked what-ifs in recent NBA history, Chris Paul's hamstring injury in the 2018 Western Conference Finals. The Rockets were up 3-2. They had all the momentum. This was their series to lose. So, that's exactly what happened. After going down with an injury with just 50 seconds left in the fourth quarter of Game 5, Chris Paul would never return to the series, and the Rockets would go on to lose the next 2 games, sealing their fate as just another third-round exit. Chris Paul has been the victim of 2 of the biggest what-ifs of our entire generation. So although I'm not a Suns fan, and I'm actually very neutral in this whole thing, I recognize the magnitude of what Chris Paul and the Suns have accomplished. The point guard and his disciples, 2 wins away from beating the Bucks and beating all the odds. Hope you all enjoyed it. And as always, until next time.
That was an interesting video. But alright, man. Make sure to subscribe, like, comment, share, notification bell. What you want me to react to next? But I'm out. Peace.